How's it going? Yes? People hear me? How you guys doing? Thank you, Red Hook. Everybody, a round of applause for Red Hook here, okay? All right, they want me in the light. Time for my line here. Okay. So, by way of introduction, yeah? How are we doing? Check 1, check 2, mic check, right? How can you tell that I work with Occupy Sandy people? Mic check. There you go. Okay, so my name is Peter Corliss, and I used to live in Rockaway Beach. Between when I was very small, we used to go there in the summers, and then we moved into a house in the Rockaways in 1970. And I moved away in 1989, but my mom still lives in the same house on Beach 143rd Street in Rockaway. And the night of the storm was pretty scary because I was out in California listening over the internet to the FDNY Queens Dispatch scanner. And hour after hour, I could hear as the fires were breaking out on all sides of my mom's house. And that night I was wondering, was my mom alive? For people who are not familiar with the Rockaways, a lot of the houses have basements that have been refurbished and sometimes become the living areas of the house. And my mom lived in the basement, and she slept in a bed in the basement. She had her kitchen in the basement, and she would fall asleep at all hours. And I was worried that entire evening whether she survived or not. So fortunately she did, but ever since that day I've been involved with helping the Rockaways recover. And tonight this is my poem about helping the Rockaways. I also want to thank Robert Barnes, who's going to be playing a little bit of a trumpet accompaniment. So let's thank Eric. Sorry, Robert. And also let's thank Eric, who when I walked in and had an Irish sweater, he presumed I was a poet. All right, so let's thank Eric also for getting me up here. Thank you, Eric.
You don't feel the love, and that's why you're a sweetheart.
The NOAA knew the deal. They gave the warning which no one cared to heed. They knew it was coming. They knew it was real. It was roiling on, amassing vengeance, unbridled wrath, and destructive speed. First through Jamaica, the east of Cuba, and over the exposed body of the Bahamas. Those whose relatives lived down there knew it was coming from all its death and traumas. Yet meanwhile Manhattanite slept, and the ferries trudged as ferries do. And Sandy was coming, but those who heeded, still precious few. My stubborn mother, cloistered in the Rockaways, thought it nuts to leave. Threatened to call the cops on us if we tried to come and get her. Like Cassandra, no one would believe. So many were so confident, but they didn't know better. I heeded the National Hurricane Center's advisories. I read the scientific data and projections. I knew of the coming miseries. I feared the unconcerned rejections. Yet I lived in California, a continent span away. I have no de jure authority, no vested powers. Who did I think I was anyway? So glued to the internet, I listened and I watched as the storm ravaged till the early hours. I heard through internet traversing packets of Sandy's destructive landfall and the flames swallowing Breezy Point and the waters engulfing all. Through the FDNY's dispatcher's updates, chaotic and disjoint. From that unholy, horrid day and night, and now each day and hour ever since, I've worked to get the truth out right with words I cannot mince. Of the deaths of neighbors and of friends, of the toll of sand and sea, of what has happened to each of the city's ends, though I keep within me the pains of my family. father confessor to those now in the cold, championing, crying out against omnipresent onset of hunger, choking behind my respirator on the insidious mold. The storm knew no mercy upon the elder or the younger. Eventually, I made my own pilgrimage to where a boardwalk used to be. I helped administer advice and comfort, but how do you repair it all? I served my time in the tents and showed others from out of town what they really needed to see. Yet in the end, anyone's individual contribution is cosmologically very small. Now it is nearly 2 months since Sandy, and the volunteers are already very few. The mold is worse than ever before, but the cold and dark keeps help away. So here I stand and raise appeal to both heaven and to you to help Red Hook and Coney and Staten Island and the whole of Rockaway. Get your hands dirty, put some skin in the game, find your extra dollars and any spare change. Get your friends and your family to do the same. Find a weekend or a day at work to rearrange. Buy Occupy Sandy a bucket or a mop. Give New York Cares a winter coat. Demand your local politicians work non-stop before the outer boroughs become Manhattan's moat. Irene was a first warning sign. Sandy, a clear shot across the bow. This is global warming, not intelligent design. The time to take action is not tomorrow, but it is now. Billions are now pouring into the state, but who's watching how it will be spent? We can either use this opportunity to rebuild our city so great, or wonder someday where it all went.